Namo Amida Butsu. Hello, thank you so much for dropping by this video. I have a big smile. I haven't made a video in months. Um, so I'm very delighted to be here and be doing this, and thanks for dropping by. So I've been reflecting on the other power reliance path, and specifically the Jodo Shinshu approach to that, and have a few thoughts. I'm just still utterly convinced that for myself, I would say probably for most human beings on this planet, but it's not my job to figure out what's right for most human beings, but that the other power path is really, that's just, especially in this day and age, that it's, the words that come are, it's the way, the truth, and the light. Of course, those are words that are ascribed to Jesus, but I really just, it's like every day as I reflect on self-power versus other power, it just becomes more and more clear the necessity for myself for other power. And so I've taken some time off from Jodo Shinshu and focusing on Amida Buddha, and part of the reason why is because of this idea of orthodoxy. And in Shinran's writings, it's made very clear that Amida Buddha is the only other power that's reliable, the only other power that can save us in one lifetime, and the only other power that can take us out of non-retrogression. Of course, Honen's writings are a little bit different. Honen distinguishes between those who are qualified for the path of sages, those who are qualified for a self-power path, and those who aren't. But regardless, I know that I'm not qualified for a self-power path. But I just, when I ask the Buddha within, I don't get a clear answer. I don't get a clear yes that Amida is the only other power for me, much less other people. And part of this, I didn't convert to Buddhism before picking up this path. I wouldn't describe myself as a Buddhist. I would describe myself as a universalist. I draw very heavily from certain aspects of Hinduism, certain aspects of the teachings of Christ, not Christianity, but the teachings of Christ, and certain aspects of Buddhism. And the fundamentals of Buddhism are very deep in my being, and yet I wouldn't describe myself as a Buddhist because I don't accept as authoritative sutras. I'm not convinced that the early Theravada writings are 100% the exact word of the Buddha. So it leaves me in a very interesting position. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I think many people who come to Jodo Shinshu struggle with this idea of Amida as the only path, Orthodox Jodo Shinshu of Amida as the only other power. People struggle with the idea of other power versus self-power, but then once you make it across that, then you've got Amida as the only other power. But so what made this really, what really highlighted this for me is that, yes, I'm looking for non-retrogression. Like, yes, please. I feel done with samsara. And, I have very severe addictions, very severe PTSD and anxiety, and a host of other inner demons. We can call them, whether you want to call them delusions or demons, or doesn't matter to me. And so Western medicine has, medication. It helped in the past, but it also it really wrecked my body. So, and I've tried a couple others. So Western medication doesn't work. Just the pure Jodo Shinshu, Orthodox Jodo Shinshu path, as I understand it, hasn't relieved my suffering or brought me to a place of even being able to be remotely functional. So that's why I kind of let go of it, and I've returned to some of my other spiritual practices, um, which do help me to be functional. And so that leads to the question of, well, okay, salvation in the other life, but what about this life? Because I've been fighting off suicidality for almost 26 years. Some years it's been less of a fight. Some years it's been no fight, but it always comes back. At least up till this point. Maybe I'm done. Maybe making this video will finish that off. Yes, please, please, Amitabha. So I've returned to some of my other spiritual practices, which help balance me and help me have a fighting chance to have even a little bit of a good life. Um, and so so that raises a host of other questions, but which I don't need to get into right now. But this is just some of the things I've been reflecting on, and it's interesting. I can't say Namu Amida Butsu all day long. I would like to, and I have the discipline to, but I literally cannot, because then I'm not able to sleep at night. It literally unbalances me. So that led to, I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. Maybe Amida isn't my other power. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. Just asking questions um, and finding what works in this life. Yes, I absolutely want to be reborn into the Pure Land, and there's something to be said for finding balance and what works here in this lifetime as well. Not that I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for Buddhahood in this lifetime, though I'm open. Amitabha, Guan Yin, any other power that can lead me to Buddhahood right here, right now, I'm in. But I'm not seeking that. So those are some of my reflections, and be curious to hear all of your thoughts and feelings. And I'm sad. It's been, I love Amida, and I love the Jodo Shinshu path, and I love the sutras, just because I don't necessarily am convinced that they're 100% the exact words of the Buddha. Doesn't mean that I don't love them and I don't love this path. And interesting enough, Paul Roberts, who really opened up this path for me through this practice of deep listening, as he explains deep listening, first have an intellectual understanding, which I feel that I have it's not perfect, but I feel that I have a very strong intellectual understanding of the Jodo Shinshu path, and then to listen to the Buddha within. And the Buddha within is not pointing me to an Orthodox Jodo Shinshu path. So it's currently, doesn't mean it will forever, is pointing me towards the 12 steps. I also have severe addictions. I think I forgot to mention that one. There's denial for you. Which of course is very compatible with Orthodox Jodo Shinshu, as long as you would define your. Let's just drop that from it. Very, very compatible with Jodo Shinshu. It's also pointing me to my spiritual understanding of what Christ actually taught, not the religion that's been built around him, which is, and what my understanding of what he taught is other power reliance. So once again, very compatible with Jodo Shinshu. And the Eastern Orthodox tradition of they don't call it a mantra, but in essence a mantra, a prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. The recognition that we can't save ourselves, and calling out for mercy. And the goal is to eventually do it constantly. And effortlessly, that it starts with some effort and then it becomes effortless. Then in that tradition, it's believed that it's God or Christ who then says the prayer through you. So again, very, very harmonious. In essence, obviously not necessarily in detail, very harmonious in essence with Jodo Shinshu. So the Buddha within is leading me to things which on the surface are heresy to Orthodox Jodo Shinshu, yet are completely in alignment with the essence and the spirit of Jodo Shinshu. So that's where Amida seems to be leading me nowadays, or that's where other power seems to be leading me. So thank you so much for dropping by. I'll be very curious to hear people's thoughts and feelings. Namo Amida Butsu.